What's good with the YouTube? You already know, Big Flocker with a convict's perspective, and I'm smashing, dashing, sliding on through. A little bit of energy. What's cracking, people? Please hit the like, subscribe, man. Comment, help support the channel, man. All that helps the channel, man. So as you can tell by today, we're going to be discussing about a lawsuit that was just dismissed by a federal judge in San Francisco. U.S. District Judge William Alsup was the judge that returned a decision into the Todd Ashker case. Okay, Todd Ashker had filed some court motions to the court, filed about his civil rights being violated based upon the fact of him being placed in the shoe and claiming that they retaliated against him for the end of all hostilities. Okay, and basically what the judge has said is that Ashker failed to establish a causal link between the shoe time and his activism, right? Officials justified by claiming a confidential informant implicated Ashker in an Aryan Brotherhood gang plot to kill a doctor and two lawyers. Ashker countered that the prison authorities could make anonymous confidential informants say anything that they want because they control prisoners' daily lives, which is true. At any time, you know, it's one of those things that in the Cdcr, right, you could sit there and you utilize 1030s, what they call them, right, which are a green slip and it's a confidential informant. They don't have to give you any information about who the person is, what they said, or anything. So therefore, they could use this information to impose certain type of consequences or certain type of situations based upon the security of the institution. And that's what they have a commonly reference of doing. And see, he's been in the shoe since I think about, let me see, it doesn't give the exact date, right? But everybody knows that he was one of the leaders. In 2011, he's the one that pushed that first front, man, for the end of all hostilities to happen. As you've heard from Powder Stories, there's a lot of things that happened over there and from other people that were with him when I think he was in Corcoran at one time. Okay, because he got transferred from Kern Valley to Corcoran State Prison. And he's serving a life sentence, as we already know, for a second-degree murder of one Dennis Murphy. That stabbing happened in 1987. This happened in Folsom. He was stabbed 18 times. Ashker argued with the court that the murder was in self-defense because Murphy had inserted his knife in an alleged fistfight. According to court records, Murphy's last words were, "Fuck you, punk," to a guard who asked him what happened. So we already know that this end all hostilities, the releasing of many officially classified and labeled gang members, prison gang members from the SHU, has been a very, very tense situation in the prison system. A lot of stuff has happened based upon that. And see, CDCR really has an ego like no other. They have one of the most strongest unions in California, the California Peace Officers Association, who I think probably have more pull than a lot of other unions based upon the fact of how strong they are. When you got that many prisons, right, that employ that many people as officers, you know what I'm saying, it's going to have a little bit of sway with the public, you know what I'm saying, officials and whatnot, because let's keep it real. When it comes to politics, lobbyists are one of the biggest influencers in politicians' decisions, and that comes from their fucking funding and money for their campaigns and stuff, man. So, you know, Todd Ashker, if you ever look up online, he's been involved in so many different lawsuits against Schwarzenegger, Brown. He knows his shit. But in this case, right, he's claiming that remarks were made by certain correctional officers that would implicate that they were going to retaliate against him, and that some of the actions they took against him were based upon them retaliating against him, which makes sense. Let's keep it 100, man. There's going to be those correctional officers that are going to sit there and enforce certain type of policies, procedures, and kind of circumvent the truth at times because they have it out to get you. But let's keep it real too, though, man. A lot of these people who belong to these particular groups, none of them are always innocent either. I don't know Todd Ashker. I don't know his affairs. I don't know his business, so I can't really make any judgment. Okay, but if he is a member of what they allegedly claim, you know, I already know the activities of that particular group. You know, they're going to be involved in different things from hits to fucking plotting to drug trafficking and whatnot. That's it. That's if he is officially a member. Okay. Now, as far as the legal stuff, everybody knows, man, when you file any type of 602s, any type of writs, any type of habeas corpuses, you know, you're putting yourself in a bad position for retaliation from staff, because they have all the control, believe it or not. What goes on behind a prison wall is sometimes secluded from the rest of the world. So the abuses that you may experience, the mistreatment, the oppression, the suppression of activities and whatnot, the public is not always welcome to that information. They don't know what goes on. You have to live there to understand it. And so what Todd Ashker's going through, man, I mean, they're basically having him in the shoe, I don't know for how long, if he's still in there, based upon the fact of an allegation being made by some confidential informants, which has been a common practice that Cdcr has been using for years. I say about half those people that were validated as prison gang members, half of them, I think even more than that, were based upon CIs, confidential informants, which, I don't know how it is nowadays, because you have the separation with S and Y groups in main lines. And I think in a GP mainline, it'd be a lot harder for those to be working as an informant, at a set facility, because every group's going to be watching what one does. You know what I'm saying? So those are the issues I see with that, is who are these informants? You're going to sit there and violate one's due process without giving them a fair and just hearing. See, you have 72 hours for a hearing. You have a certain set procedure that you have your rights that should be reserved. And that's been fought many times, because that's what happened with Valdivia when they were having issues with parole violations. The same should be said of all these different these hearings that they have. The 115s, the investigations and whatnot. If you're going to put someone in the shoe, which infringes your rights, it takes away privileges and incentives, then you should have the right to a fair hearing. The right to cross-examine those witnesses against you. You see what I'm saying? Because you have that right in a jury trial. You have that right in a parole violation. But when it comes to these type of affairs in a prison system, they have basically a fucking loophole that you can't fucking infiltrate. So I think that would be the next procedure that would have to be fought, is the fighting of 1030s and confidential informants. Now, administration is going to say, well, we can't expose them because it will put their lives in danger. Well, at the same time, you're impeding one's rights. They have the right to cross-examine their accusers. If you're going to use this information to inflict some type of punishment, then by all means, they should have the right to a fair hearing. That's my personal opinion. That's what I would be fighting. Like, where's my hearing? If I'm locked up based upon these alleged allegations, which could be hearsay information. See, you don't know if it's hearsay, if they claim it was direct information. You do not know in these events. I got validated as fucking a gang member off debriefing reports when I wasn't even at said facility. Believe that. I wasn't even there. And they had people that were fucking debriefing on me, And so these are things like, when I look at this case with Todd Ashker, man, who, he won that victory against the fucking state. And you got to remember, they're going to have a certain type of feeling because they paid lawyers. They tried to fight that. They got all their fucking hierarchy, fucking confidential informants and known informants to testify, to write writs, to respond for the courts. And it still got denied, releasing all these individuals from the shoe, which many are attributing to why there's such widespread violence in the system. I can't confirm that or disconfirm that. I don't know. These are just theories that you hear. But in any event, that created a fucking target on Todd Ashker. People are going to look at this individual. Like, look, he's the one that fucking caused all this stuff. He's the one that made our jobs harder. He's the one that's doing this and doing that. Yet, since he's been out, you haven't heard of any new indictments that have been directed towards him. And the AB went through a recent indictment in 2018. So you would think that if he was involved in any illicit activities, they probably would have some charges against him. Maybe him being in the shoe has saved him. You know what I'm saying? But let me see what else this article has to give you guys a little bit more information on it, man. I think everybody was released around, the findings I think on this was 2014. Yeah, to this day is commonly known as the Ashker settlement. These statements, the plaintiff cites statements by prison officials hostile to the lawsuit in the hunger strike. So he was part of the ones that coordinated the hunger strike. And see, this is one thing that People don't realize, and this is a fact, man, and it's kind of in reference to what a couple people have said. The hunger strikes and the agreement to enter into the end of hostilities, the last group to sign off on it was the NF, the Nuestra Familia. They had to do a lot of campaigning, politicking, communications before they could get enough support to push that agenda. You know what I'm saying? So their whole, it wasn't like they came to the table right off the top. It's okay, yeah, we'll join. There was a lot of talks that were going on, like, you know, should we join this? Are we committing treason? Are we working with other groups that we've already said that we would never work? And I think what it came down to was, this is what my thinking is. It's just my perspective. That the end of hostility does not show any cowardice dealings, because they're trying to obtain something for all, you know, populated inmates. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why the NF decided to agree to the end of hostilities, to get back out to the main line, to get out there to the privileged and incentives, to get out there to the contact visits, the different rackets they could benefit from. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been micromanaging all these yards for like the last 40 years, the NF and the MA. You know, and they're the ones that are mainly in control of these yards. You know, and what I mean by control is that they have their own rackets, they have their own business and whatnot. That now they can facilitate things a lot better as opposed to doing it from the chute. Because right now in the prison system, man, there's enough money for everybody. And that's why they're able to coexist the way that they are. You know, and I think that they've imposed certain rules and regulations within their own people to make it to where there's no interference or interruptions for each group's fucking business activities. You know. Anyways, yeah, I thought this article was interesting. You know, I've heard a lot of stories about Todd Ashker. I don't know the dude personally, man. I heard that fucking he was on some medications and may have made some improper statements and whatnot. I don't know the truth of that, man. These are just things that I've heard. But in any event, he's real good when it comes to the legal law. You know what I'm saying? Pushing those issues, pushing those agendas. And, you know, I think in general, as far as a nucleus of, you know, GP or whatever SNY inmates, I think you need people who know the law, who are going to push for the rights of all prisoners. You have to push for the rights of everyone to make it feasible towards the administration. If you're just fighting based upon your affiliations, you're going to lose every time. Because then they're going to classify this as, you know, different criteria of individuals. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why they were able to succeed, you know. And I've seen all these changes that started to occur around like 2004 and 5, when we started to sign off on group class actions with Sureños and with other particular groups. You know, that's where things started to change a whole lot. You know. Anyways, man, I got another announcement, man. So I'm going to be also going back to working with Tony from Stories Written by a Current Prisoner on a couple projects, man. Once again, man, we're going to be touching on some different topics, maybe even go over some of the old stories that I told. Trying to get back to the way things used to be when I first came on YouTube, man, in conjunction with what I do on this channel. So it should be interesting, man. As you guys know, those were some of the we kicked off that prison genre right there, man. As far as there was other channels out there, but what we were doing kind of started to change the element of things, man. And so I just got off the phone with Tony. We're going to work on some things, man. I think we're going to talk about, one of our first topic is going to be talking about the Tibbs hit, as well as some other things that have been going on. And they should be some good videos, man. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff that I haven't put on this channel that maybe I'll put on that channel. You know, maybe a video a week, a couple videos every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Something like that, man, because people used to like some of the stuff that I was able to put on his channel. And I'm able to talk a whole little bit different than I do as far as, you know, on this channel. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, man, the Todd Ashker case, man, got dismissed by a judge, man. Was it retaliation? I don't know. But it is an interesting topic to consider, man. You know, Cdcr has been known to retaliate when they don't get their way. And they're really plugged in deeply politically. And when you're plugged in deeply politically, you're also plugged into judges. And there's a lot of influence and sway that occurs that, you know, a lot of us have no control over. Anyways, this is your boy Flacco, a convict's perspective. Hit that like, subscribe, man. Help support the push, man. I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing.